Before we talk politics, before we talk power, let's talk purpose. Because this isn't just about nations, it's about truth, justice, and the courage to speak when silence is easier. In a world where diplomacy wears a mask, where alliances shift like sand, we must ask, what happens when the world's greatest power chooses convenience over conviction? This isn't about anger, it's about awakening. If you've ever felt the weight of injustice, if you've ever questioned the headlines you're told to accept, then stay with me. Because what you're about to hear isn't just a speech, it's a call to conscious clarity. Pakistan holds significant geostrategic value due to its geographic location at the crossroads of South Asia, Central Asia, and the Middle East. To the west lies Afghanistan, a country central to U.S. military involvement for over 2 decades. To the east is India, a regional rival of Pakistan and a rising global power. To the north is China, America's primary global competitor. This geographic positioning gives Pakistan a critical role in any regional calculus involving military strategy, intelligence operations, and diplomatic influence. Historically, the United States has used Pakistan as a gateway to engage with Central Asia and manage regional conflict. During the Cold War, Pakistan was a key partner in countering Soviet influence. More recently, in the post-9/11 era, Pakistan served as a base of operations for the U.S. military and intelligence services during their involvement in Afghanistan. American drones flew from Pakistani airbases, and logistical supply routes for NATO forces passed through Pakistani territory. These logistical and operational dependencies created a deep, if complex, strategic relationship between Washington and Islamabad. In addition to military strategy, Pakistan's location allows the U.S. to maintain a presence near 2 major global players, China and Iran. Being close to China's Belt and Road Initiative's flagship project, the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor also increases Pakistan's strategic relevance to Washington, which is keen on monitoring and potentially countering Chinese influence. At the same time, proximity to Iran gives the U.S. another reason to maintain a functional relationship with Pakistan for intelligence gathering and diplomatic maneuvering in the region. These geographical advantages have kept Pakistan in the loop of U.S. foreign policy, often earning it political support, military aid, and diplomatic engagement, even when its internal politics or international conduct raised serious concerns. Following the September 11, 2001 terrorist attacks, Pakistan emerged as a central player in the United States' global war on terror. Due to its proximity to Afghanistan and influence over various militant networks operating in the region, Pakistan became a crucial partner for intelligence sharing, military operations, and logistics support. The U.S. depended heavily on Pakistan's cooperation to target terrorist groups such as Al-Qaeda and later the Taliban, especially in the federally administered tribal areas FATA, where militant activity was deeply entrenched. Pakistan's intelligence agency, the ISI, maintained long-standing ties with various militant groups. While this dual role raised significant concerns in Washington, the U.S. still considered cooperation with Pakistan necessary for operational success. Over the years, billions of dollars in military and economic aid were given to Pakistan in exchange for access to its airspace, bases, and intelligence. American drone strikes, often launched with tacit approval from Pakistani authorities, targeted Hive, Al-U terrorist figures within Pakistani borders. Despite repeated accusations that elements within Pakistan's military and intelligence services provided safe haven to insurgent groups, including the Afghan Taliban and the Haqqani network, the U.S. continued to engage with Pakistan diplomatically and militarily. The 2011 discovery of Osama bin Laden in Abbottabad, near a major Pakistani military academy, further complicated this relationship. Still, even after such revelations, the partnership endured due to the practical necessity of Pakistan's involvement in counterterrorism efforts. The U.S. also viewed Pakistan as a key player in managing militant threats that extended beyond South Asia. Concerns over global jihadist movements, nuclear security, and the risk of state collapse in a nuclear-armed country kept Pakistan relevant in Washington's strategic calculations. As a result, the counterterrorism agenda created a complex relationship where short-term security interests often overshadowed long-term trust issues. The United States' withdrawal from Afghanistan in 2021 marked the end of a two-decade-long military presence, and Pakistan played a pivotal logistical and diplomatic role in that process. As a neighboring country with deep political, tribal, and intelligence links to Afghanistan, Pakistan became an essential transit and support hub during the U.S. exit strategy. Its road networks, air corridors, and proximity to key Afghan border crossings allowed for the movement of troops, equipment, and supplies at a critical time. Throughout the U.S. involvement in Afghanistan, Pakistan had provided land and air routes for the transportation of military hardware and humanitarian aid. These supply routes, commonly referred to as ground lines of communication glocks and air lines of communication alocks, were vital for sustaining NATO and U.S. forces when alternative routes through Central Asia proved either diplomatically sensitive or logistically complex. Pakistan's infrastructure remained a more practical option. In the months leading up to and following the Taliban's return to power, U.S. officials frequently engaged with their Pakistani counterparts to manage the evolving security situation. Pakistan's influence over the Taliban, due to historic ties and strategic interests, positioned it as a key player in negotiating safe passage and managing refugee movements. Washington viewed Islamabad's cooperation as indispensable for achieving a relatively stable drawdown, reducing the risk of large-scale conflict or chaos during the transition. Pakistan also hosted multiple rounds of talks and back-channel communications between U.S. and Taliban officials, often acting as a facilitator in sensitive negotiations. Even when relations were strained, both sides understood the mutual benefits of continued coordination during such a volatile period. This role in the Afghanistan withdrawal further cemented Pakistan's importance in U.S. regional policy, ensuring it remained engaged despite growing American partnerships with India and other Indo-Pacific allies. One of the major drivers of U.S. foreign policy in Asia is the strategic effort to contain China's growing global influence. As China expands its economic, military, and diplomatic footprint across Asia and beyond, the United States seeks to counterbalance this rise through alliances, partnerships, and regional presence. In this context, Pakistan's deepening relationship with China has drawn significant attention from Washington, making it a critical piece of the larger strategic puzzle. China and Pakistan share a long-standing partnership, often described as all-weather, and this has grown stronger with the development of the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor (CPEC). CPEC is a flagship project under China's Belt and Road Initiative (BRI), involving massive investments in infrastructure, energy, and trade routes that link Western China to the Arabian Sea via Pakistan's Gwadar port. This project not only strengthens China's economic access to the Middle East and Africa, but also provides a potential military foothold near the Persian Gulf. The United States, wary of China's expanding influence, views Pakistan's alignment with Beijing as a challenge to its own strategic interests in the region. To prevent Pakistan from drifting entirely into China's orbit, the U.S. maintains diplomatic engagement and selective military cooperation. Even though Washington's primary Indo-Pacific ally is India, keeping lines open with Pakistan serves as a balancing tactic, allowing the U.S. to exert at least limited influence in Islamabad. Through aid, defense agreements, and diplomatic exchanges, the U.S. signals its willingness to maintain ties with Pakistan, partly to dilute China's dominance there. This approach is less about favoring Pakistan over India and more about denying China uncontested strategic space. As tensions escalate between the U.S. and China, managing relations with countries like Pakistan becomes a matter of geopolitical necessity, not ideological alignment or loyalty. One of the most visible indicators of the U.S. Pakistan relationship is the continuation of defense deals and arms sales, particularly the supply and maintenance of advanced military hardware such as F-16 fighter jets. These transactions have long been a source of friction between India and the United States, as New Delhi views such support as directly enhancing Pakistan's offensive capabilities, especially in the context of regional tensions. Over the years, the U.S. has justified its military assistance to Pakistan as necessary for counterterrorism operations and regional stability. Washington has argued that the F-16s and related equipment are used to target militant groups and maintain internal security, rather than to threaten neighboring countries. However, India has consistently challenged this rationale, pointing out that Pakistan has historically used such assets during conflicts and skirmishes, particularly over Kashmir. In 2022, the U.S. approved a major support package for Pakistan's F-16 fleet, reviving a program that had been largely frozen. This move came despite growing strategic and defense cooperation between the U.S. and India through platforms like the Quad and bilateral defense agreements. Indian officials expressed strong objections, citing concerns over dual-use capabilities and Pakistan's previous misuse of American military equipment. These defense deals are also part of a broader U.S. strategy to maintain leverage and engagement with Pakistan's military establishment, which holds significant political and strategic power within the country. By providing military support, the U.S. preserves access to Pakistani military leadership and reinforces channels of influence in a region marked by volatility and shifting alliances. While such deals are often presented under the banner of fighting terrorism or maintaining regional balance, they contribute to the perception that the U.S. is indirectly siding with Pakistan, despite its closer overall alignment with India in other areas of trade, diplomacy, and strategic cooperation. The Kashmir issue remains one of the most sensitive and contentious topics in South Asia, and U.S. positions on it have often influenced perceptions of American alignment in the India-Pakistan rivalry. While the U.S. officially maintains a neutral stance, framing Kashmir as a bilateral issue to be resolved by India and Pakistan, there have been multiple instances where its actions or statements have been interpreted as sympathetic to Pakistan's position or critical of India's internal policies. Washington has occasionally raised concerns about human rights conditions in Jammu and Kashmir, particularly following the Indian government's revocation of Article 370 in August 2019, which stripped the region of its special status. The U.S. State Department and members of Congress have issued statements highlighting communication blackouts, detentions, and restrictions on civil liberties in the region. These statements, though framed under the banner of human rights and democratic values, have been welcomed by Pakistan and criticized by Indian officials as external interference in a sovereign matter. Additionally, Pakistan has actively lobbied U.S. lawmakers, think tanks, and international forums to spotlight the Kashmir issue, often framing it as a matter of human rights and international concern rather than bilateral territorial dispute. This lobbying has found some traction in parts of the U.S. political and media landscape, which fuels the narrative that Washington is not entirely neutral. The U.S. has also been hesitant to explicitly call out Pakistan's support for cross-border terrorism in Kashmir in the same forceful terms it uses for other global terror concerns. This uneven messaging adds to India's frustration and contributes to the belief that Pakistan receives diplomatic leniency. While the U.S. does encourage peace and dialogue, its selective emphasis on human rights in Kashmir, without equal pressure on Pakistan for fostering militancy, reinforces the perception of a subtle bias. The United States has repeatedly emphasized its desire to maintain balanced relations with both India and Pakistan, often portraying itself as a neutral power interested in regional stability. However, actions on the ground sometimes appear to contradict this narrative, creating the perception that the U.S. is not merely balancing but subtly tilting toward Pakistan in specific areas. This perceived tilt stems from ongoing military assistance, strategic ambiguity on critical issues, and inconsistent diplomatic messaging. India and the U.S. have built a strong partnership over the past 2 decades, marked by cooperation in defense, technology, trade, and strategic forums like the Quad. The U.S. sees India as a key counterweight to China in the Indo-Pacific region. Despite this, Washington's continued military support to Pakistan, such as F-16 sustainment packages, and its reluctance to fully condemn Pakistan-sponsored terrorism, raise questions about the consistency of its strategic priorities. This contradiction becomes even more pronounced when India faces cross-border threats or escalations. For instance, after major terror attacks in India linked to Pakistan-based groups, U.S. responses often call for restraint from both sides, rather than placing direct accountability. Such language, perceived as diplomatic equivalence, frustrates Indian policymakers who expect clearer support from a strategic partner. Washington's dual-track approach, partnering deeply with India while maintaining security ties with Pakistanis, seen as a hedging strategy. It allows the U.S. to preserve leverage with Pakistan's military and intelligence sectors, especially for short-term goals like regional counterterrorism and Afghanistan-related stability. However, this balancing act creates trust issues. In India, it generates skepticism about America's long-term reliability as an ally. In Pakistan, it encourages the belief that the U.S. will continue to engage regardless of internal conduct. The optics of this approach often undercut the broader goals of transparency and values-based diplomacy that the U.S. claims to uphold. In international platforms such as the United Nations and various human rights bodies, the United States plays a major role in shaping discourse and influencing decisions. Its positions in these forums are closely watched, especially by countries like India and Pakistan that often find themselves on opposite sides of key geopolitical and diplomatic issues. When the U.S. takes a stand or chooses not to, it sends signals about where its priorities and alliances lie. One area where this dynamic plays out is in votes or discussions related to human rights, religious freedoms, and regional conflicts. Pakistan has consistently raised the Kashmir issue in global forums, often attempting to frame it as a human rights crisis. While the U.S. rarely supports these efforts outright, its occasional silence or cautious language has been interpreted by India as a lack of firm backing. Additionally, U.S. representatives have at times expressed concern over developments in Kashmir, which Pakistan uses diplomatically to bolster its narrative. On issues like religious freedoms, minority rights, and democratic processes, U.S. reports and comments have sometimes focused on India, sparking criticism within Indian political circles. Although these may be based on independent assessments, the timing and tone can have political implications, especially when similar scrutiny is not equally applied to Pakistan's internal issues, such as minority persecution or military overreach. Pakistan has also benefited from its ability to rally support from Islamic nations and leverage this bloc in organizations like the Organization of Islamic Cooperation (OIC). While the U.S. does not directly align with these blocs, it remains cautious in its approach to avoid alienating Muslim-majority allies. This caution sometimes results in diplomatic ambiguity, which gives Pakistan space to amplify its positions internationally, while India perceives a lack of clear U.S. support on matters of national interest. In the complex web of global diplomacy, America's actions toward Pakistan are shaped by shifting interests, strategic, military, and political, while India rises as a democratic power and key U.S. partner. Continued support to Pakistan sends mixed signals that challenge trust and transparency. This is not just about alliances, It's about values, consistency, and long-term vision. As citizens, analysts, and leaders, we must question, speak, and hold power accountable. Thank you for lending your time and attention. May truth guide your thoughts and courage fuel your voice. Stay informed, stay bold, and good luck on your journey to speak for justice.